Well, hello there, Quirky Birders. It's Lynn here, and welcome to your latest daily art challenge. Now, I've entitled this series of videos called Have Some More Fun, and that'll become apparent as we go through our videos over the course of this week. So what I'm going to do today is I'm actually going to show you how to paint this very, very simple sepia landscape. And you're going to be painting this with just the one colour. Now we're also going to be having some fun with regards to our use of paintbrushes. I'm going to be pushing you a little bit out of your comfort zone, and you're going to be using a wider brush. I've got a 1-inch brush here. I've also got my size 6 little round-headed brush, and I've also got a fan brush as well. So we're going to be having a little bit of fun with our art materials and use some different things that we wouldn't normally use. Now, paint-wise, the colour that you're going to be using is actually burnt umber. And I've just got my little burnt umber here. I've pulled it out of my paint box. So it's just the burnt umber that you're going to be using. And we're going to be having a little bit of fun with the mixing of that burnt umber to create all of these different tones and hues to this painting. So it really is quite a nice little one to do, and it is very, very simple and easy to do as well. Now, the title, Have Some More Fun, will also help you with regards to the composition of your picture. So let me just move those to one side. Now, I've got a piece of A4 paper here, which I have lined up in a landscape orientation. And I just need to grab my pencil and ruler. And what we're going to do to begin with is we're going to pop in a horizon line. Now, the title, Have Some More Fun, is also going to help you with the painting of your picture. Because the first thing that we need to do is put in the H for have, the horizon line. And then we are going to be working on the sky, so S for some, sky. Then we're going to be working in the middle ground, so M for more, middle ground. And then finally, we'll be working in the actual foreground of the picture. So that's also going to help you with your composition. So have some more fun. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is we need to just pop in the horizon line to the actual picture. And we're going to pop that in just a couple of inches up from the base of the bottom of the page. So we'll just come right the way along with a pencil horizon line. Like so. Now, the first thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to be working on the sky. Now, we only have a couple of minutes to create the beautiful sky. And that's because the paint is going to be drying quite quickly. We're going to be working with a wash, and we're going to be working wet on wet as well. So we do need to act quite quickly when we're working with the sky. Now we need to mix quite a watery burnt umber mix. So I've got my paints here and I'm going to just mix it with my little size 6 round-headed brush. Now I've got a little bit already on the palette that I can just get going. So we'll just get that going just very, very quickly. And I'm going to just add a little bit of water to it because I just want it to be a really nice watery mix for the sky. You can add a little bit more of the darker colour, but we'll just keep it nice and watery. Okay. So we'll see how that goes when it's on the paper. We can always make it a little bit darker if we have to. Okay, so what we're going to do to begin with is taking the larger brush, the inch brush. I'm just going to completely wet all of the paper. And just bring that right the way down. I'm just going to finish it just about an inch above that horizon line. I'm not going to bring it right the way down to the pencil line. So I'm just going to keep an inch just before that pencil line. And just get a nice even coverage of that water. And then we can go straight in with the wash. I'll just keep it nice and pale. And just remember that we're building the picture from the underpainting up. So we're working from light to dark. There we go. Now we can start to build the depth of the picture. We can start to add one or two clouds and also some darker sweeps of colour. Now, one of the easiest ways to do your clouds, again working quite quickly, is to take some kitchen paper or tissue, and you can almost just scrub your paper and create little light fluffy clouds. Like I say, it has to be when the paint and water is still quite wet, but you can then just create quite nicely a series of little clouds. Okay, so once you've done that, you can then go back over and add in some darker colours. So again, we're still working with that burnt umber. So let me just see if I can bring that into shot a little bit. There you go. And we'll just make that a little bit darker this time. Still want it quite a nice watery consistency. Now I'm still going to work with the larger brush. Only this time I'm going to create some darker clouds. And all I'm going to do is literally just use that large brush and just dab those clouds into place. Almost making like little sort of sausage shapes, really. And we'll just build the sky. To become quite sort of moody and misty. Now you can always make it a little bit darker, because the whole purpose of this painting is that you're just playing around with the mixing of those colours. And the beauty of painting skies like this is that no two skies will ever be the same. And then again, if you want to, you can always take your bit of tissue and you can always just pop a couple of little lighter clouds again. Just to soften any of those straighter edges that as you've been working with that larger brush. I'm quite happy with that as a sky. I think that's looking really quite sort of nice. Got some nice texture in there, so we can work from that point. So that's you put in the horizon and also the sky. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to move on to the middle ground of the painting. So we're going to be working within this section here. And what we're going to do is we're still going to be working with that larger brush. And with the larger brush, we're going to be painting sort of pretty much just a wobbly M, and that's going to form our mountains. We're not going to come down to the horizon line. I'm still going to be working pretty much along this line, this inch above. So again, we can probably make our burnt umber just slightly darker. And all we're going to do is just create that little sort of wobbly M, so we can just pull in the mountains and come right the way over. Give them a valley. Like so. We can then fill our mountains in. So they're just nice misty mountains just in that background. Just make them a little bit darker. Now what you can do is you can change to your normal little size 6 round-headed brush, and then what you can do is you can actually start to manipulate that paint ever so slightly. So what you're wanting to achieve is you're wanting a nice soft edge to your mountains, and you don't want there to be any brush strokes neither. So I'm just going to work along this edge here. And we'll fill the mountains in from the bottom as well. just spend just a couple of moments just getting that really nice finish on your mountains. You can let there be different shades and tones along there, because of course light will cast different shadows into the background of a picture like this, so you can certainly have some fun with the shading and toning. Now I've just got a little bit of a bleed there, so you can see that the line's gone a little bit fuzzy. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take up some more of the paint, but this time I'm probably going to pick it up directly from my pan set. I'm just going to take that a little bit higher, just to give that definition. There we go. Just make the shape a little bit more natural. Okay, so I'm happy with the mountings now. They are looking quite nice. I've got some different shades and tones going on as well within the mountains. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to just put in the lake shoreline. And for the lake shoreline, we're going to be working with, again, a darker tone of the burnt umber. And you're pretty much wanting it to be fairly close to the original colour. So you're going to be wanting to be working quite dark with your burnt umber. So what we'll do is we'll just mix a little bit more paint. And we'll, like I say, we'll go completely dark. We won't have too much water in there this time. So you're wanting something that's fairly close to your original colour. And then what we're going to do for the foreground, again, we're going to be working with the larger brush. So I'm going to be working with the inch brush. And what you're wanting to do this time is you're wanting just to create that sort of shoreline, that lakeside shoreline. So taking up some of the burnt umber on your brush, and this time just damp the bristles, the side of the bristles off ever so slightly. You don't want to take the tip, you just want to damp the side of the bristle so you're not carrying too much water. And then all you're going to do is taking your brush and sort of using little chisel type movements, you're going to come along that horizon line now. But what you're going to do is leave some of the white of the paper on show, because we want to have some of that lovely light where the lake is collecting amongst the shoreline. And you're just going to build this up with just like these little chisel type movements. Little patience. and then just bring it up to the base of the mountains. And it just gives you that lovely shoreline. Now you can go back in using your size 6 brush, your little round-headed brush, and you can just create a little bit more of a sweeping line. So let's just follow a little bit of shape over the top. Come down to that point there. And then let's do the same on the other side. Just take it ever so slightly higher. And then we'll go back to the inch brush. Let's do another couple of little chisels with the darker colour. So it's just a very, very simple and effective way of just painting in that sort of middle ground and that rocky shoreline. Okay, now I'm quite happy with that. So what we need to do next is we now need to move on to the foreground. So we've done our horizon, we've put in the sky, we've put in the middle ground. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do the foreground. Now for the foreground, it's just a very, very simple wash again. So we're going to come back to the burnt umber. Now remember, we've made it much darker to pop in the shoreline. So this time we're just needing to add a little bit more water just to make it that little bit lighter. So we don't want it too light because we're still working in tones. So let's just bring that, make it just a little bit darker, I think. There we go. And then we need to do the shoreline, the foreground. Now we're going to fill in all of this area with this umber wash, and I'm going to start from the bottom. And just working in those nice sweeping strokes, being careful around your shoreline. And let's just get a nice finish on there now. Okay. Now again, we can create some little highlights on our little lake. So taking your tissue And you can just then sort of scrub away one or two little highlights. If you use the screwed up end, you can get some really nice bits of texture. And if you don't like what you've done, then don't worry about it, because you can also go back over it again. So I'm not particularly liking this little heavy bit here, so I'm just going to bring another little wash over the top. And we'll screw the tissue up again and just use the crumpled end. Just pop a little bit of texture through there. Okay. It's going to pop a little bit of the darker colour at the bottom. And then again with the screwed up tissue. We'll just fade that out a bit along here again. So you've got a really nice texture. Okay. So the final little bit that we need to do is we need to be working in this foreground. Now this area just needs to dry just for another couple of minutes before we proceed and do the foreground. And all we're going to do is put a series of sort of little rushes in the foreground. And we're going to do that by using our fan brush. Now, your fan brush can be a really, really useful tool to providing a little bit of texture and interest to your paintings. And you're going to see how this sort of works. Now, I've wet my brush, and as you can see, the bristles of the brush have actually started to separate, and that's what we're going to use to create the texture of the reeds in the actual foreground of the painting. So it really is a very, very simple process indeed. So paint wise, we need to go darker again. So I'm going to pick up my burnt umber, and you want it to be sort of fairly rich in paint. So you want it to be more paint than water. So similar consistency to what you've painted your shoreline in. So again, you're going to need a little bit of tissue just to dry your brush off. And you're just going to be drying the side of your brush. So you're just going to be taking away the moisture and water that's holding within those bristles just by dabbing the side of the brush. So, tissue in hand, darker paint in the palette. You're going to pick up some of the darker paint. And like I say, just dab the side of the bristles so you don't remove any of that darker paint on the edge of your bristles. And all you're then going to do is literally just scratch your way and just create these lovely little reeds. Now you can bring them through into the middle. I have some coming up the side. You're wanting some in this foreground here as well. And you can bring the foreground ones right the way along the edge of the painting. Remember to dab. Put some darker ones in there. And again, it's just a very, very simple technique, just using a different brush, a different way of painting. We'll just put a little bit of the darker texture in along here. And then we'll just dab just a couple of little darker bits just closer to the water's edge. Do the same along here. And just be quite light as you just sort of dab in that colour and texture. I'll do the same along here. We'll just bring that into the foreground along here. There we go. Okay, so that's it for the painting of your little lakeside painting. We just need to let that dry, and then I will be back in just a moment, and we'll just pop in just a couple of ink details just to give it that little Quirky Bird touch. So we'll just add the ink details in just a moment. So I'll be back with you shortly once it's dry. Okay, so our painting has now dried, and we're just going to just put a little bit of ink detail in there, and mainly I'm just going to concentrate still within this foreground. All I've got is just my 0.4 pen, and all I'm going to do is just add in some reeds. Just keep it very, very light. You can take some longer ones over, so they're keeping nice and high. You can pop some little seed heads on the end. So just dab those little seed heads on the end there. And we'll just score all the way along. Change my pen, it's decided to run out. And we'll do the same up this side. We'll have some nice long ones. And again, we can pop some little seed heads on there. And then we can also add a couple of little birds in the sky. And if you're wanting to add some birds, I suggest you change to a thicker pen. So let's go 0.7. And to do your little birds, all you're going to do is start from a little central point and just push away. So a little dot and then push. You can do them smaller. There we go. So once you've got your little birds in, what you can then do is we can peel away the tape and what we should then see is a really nice crisp border. Now this tape that I'm using is the frog tape. It's the Delicate Surfaces frog tape. It's a little bit more expensive than masking tape. But it does really help to provide a really nice, sharp, clean edge to the border. And it also comes away really quite nicely too. It's very rare that I have an issue where it sticks to the paper. And we'll come along the top. And then we'll just sign the picture. And there we have it. One very, very simple sepia landscape using a variety of different brushes and a couple of new techniques as well. So hope you've enjoyed that. Enjoy your painting. I'll be back again tomorrow with another video tutorial. Goodbye.